Yeah, I was going to say, you got half your wish.
Called it. Jonathan Job on the right, Las Vegas player. Star City Games Invitational top 8 player when we were in Los Angeles, our last one. He's playing Blue White Red Flash. He's got 3 copies of Snapcaster, Restoration Angel, Augur of Bolas. He has, a pretty stock deck, honestly.
Yep.
Got some counter spells and stuff, but he's got 2 copies of Aurelia the War Leader as far as an interesting card that you don't normally see.
Yeah, he is playing a more controlling build than we've really seen from, Jerry's deck from the Pro Tour was kind of the control version, and this list takes it even further, going Essence Scatter, Supreme Verdict into Aurelia as the win condition. But on the other side, we have Naya Blitz. This is kind of the quintessential deck of the format right now. Burning Tree Emissary, one of the most explosive cards printed recently. Experiment 1 also. Between Experiment 1 and Champion of the Parish, you basically have access to like Kurdape Wild Macattle level creatures if your draw is good.
Yeah.
And that is like very impressive for a standard format nowadays.
As you do see Burning Tree Shaman into Experiment 1, making the Champion of the Parish into a 3/3. So Kobie is already very far ahead now against Jonathan. Jonathan just played a Steam Vents Pass and said go, so didn't have, an Azorius Charm or a Searing Spear or anything to do. Even like a simple Pillar of Flame, taking 2 to take care of the champion would be ideal on his last turn, but he didn't even have that. But you do see Pillar of Flame now in his hand.
Yeah, and these types of games are the ones where you most want, say, Boros Record, right? It's better than most of their creatures, so that like you really stymie their attacks. But also, even if they have the answer in Searing Spear, you're still 2-for-1ing them and getting the guy off board, and taking up the entire blitz turn. Just a Pillar of Flame. I mean, you're saving some life. You're getting a little more traction in the game, but you're still way behind on board. But as I said, Jonathan Job does have 2 Supreme Verdicts main deck in his otherwise, pretty standard list, and looks like we're going to see one now. That is excellent. That is huge right there.
The Supreme Verdict's going to clear everything up for Job. He's going to stabilize 11 right now because Kobie has 3 lands in his hand. As he takes a draw step and plays a Stomping Ground, you see a Clifftop Retreat, a Sacred Foundry, and another Cavern of Souls in his hand. So
these decks often playing, 19, 20 lands. This build happens to have 21. It plays way fewer lands than everything else in the format because all of its spells are so cheap. You want to draw a higher concentration of spells rather than lands. Really punished when you get flooded out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you see here. I mean, Job only does have 2 copies of Supreme Verdict in his deck, but he has them in there to draw them, and he drew them this game. And it took care of the initial rush, and now Kobie is left to top deck, perfectly to be able to win this game. And that's going to be pretty difficult because, as you see, John already has a Restoration Angel out, bringing the beats. He has another one in his hand that looks like he's going to
snipe. Fury.
Yeah, he's going to snipe that.
Kobie's just done.
He's going to snipe that Thalia, and he couldn't concede faster.
Yeah.
So Jonathan Job up a game here in round 2 against Kobie Spaeth in his Naya Blitz deck.
So let's go to the sideboard.
Well, Kobie's going to be on the play. I know you have his list in front of you. So outside of not mana flooding, what kind of cards can he bring in here?
Well, it looks like a lot of his sideboard is actually dedicated to aggro decks, aggro mirrors, or like mid-range creature style control decks, rather than Wrath of God control decks. The only card I can really see coming in here is the 4 of Boros Charm, which the mode you're looking for there is the indestructibility against Supreme Verdict, and it's goes to the Nugget, 4 damage up top, Patrick Sullivan style, and finish them off once they do stabilize. So that's all I can really see.
Can't complain about that kind of versatility.
Yeah, I mean, all 4 Thalia's main is pretty good in this matchup.
Yeah, you normally see 3 of those main, 1 of them sideboard, but maybe in this area Kobie knows a lot of the players here and knows that Blue White Red Flash might be super popular. Thalia also very good against your reanimation decks, slowing down Mulch, Grizzly Salvage, and Faithful Suiting. Actually, pretty good card in those matchups too.
For sure.
On Job's side, obviously he just wants to prolong the game as much as he possibly can. He does have an Angel of Serenity in his sideboard, which is pretty slow here, and you can't really cheat it into play with Burial Rites, but it is kind of an interesting way to catch himself back up in case the game does divulge into a point where that's the only card that could actually save him. He does have a 3rd Supreme Verdict in his sideboard, which is certainly going to come in. 2 copies of Izzet Static Caster as well that are going to join us, and then 2 copies of Attention Sphere. But the card, that I do want to talk about briefly is Izzet Static Caster, a card that is pretty underplayed right now, and it was one that is very, very good against the Naya Blitz deck.
Well, it was unbelievable a couple formats ago, and as things rotated, it kind of was less powerful. The metagame shifted more towards control decks, and even the aggro decks that were being played didn't have any 1 toughness creatures. I mean, all the red decks was, you know, 2/2s for 1 and 2, and giant Thundermaw Hellkites and stuff, and Boros Reckoners. But the rise of Naya Blitz as the predominant aggressive style, or aggressive strategy of the metagame, means that the 1 toughness is back.
Yeah.
Staticaster's time is upon us once again.
And you think about the Naya Blitz deck, and you think about being attacked for 3 by all of its guys and stuff like that, and you're really wondering what kind of stuff is a Staticaster actually kill? I mean, outside of it being an 0/3, which actually can block pretty well against this deck, you know, blocking Thalia, blocking Burning Tree Emissary, you know, it shoots down later Champion of the Parish, later Experiment 1s, always going to kill Boros Elite. There's 4 Avacyn's Pilgrims in Kobie's deck, and he does have those 4 Thalias as well.
I was going to say, Thalia's the big one.
And Lightning Mauler, too.
And the Mauler.
And Mayor of Averbrook. So, you know, it is turn 3 that this comes into play, and it's a little bit slow on the draw, but it is something that, depending on how Kobie's draw lines up, can actually start shooting things down and help you stabilize at a incredibly fast rate.
I mean, it kills, you know, 1/3 of the creatures straight up, and if you ever curve, like, Staticaster into Restoration Angel, you can take down a 2 toughness creature, and, you know, Staticaster doesn't just ping, it pings all with the same name. So if they have a really explosive, like, double Burning Tree Emissary draw that you answer with Staticaster block, then the next turn shoot, resto, shoot, block with resto, that's like the ultimate stabilization curve. Like, you don't have to wrath from that point, you just are way ahead.
Yeah. And, you know, normally in a pinger, like you know, like Prodigal Sorcerer or, you know, Cutting Spark Mage, you normally expect those creatures to have 1 toughness, and Staticaster having 3 toughness is actually, like, pretty relevant here.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually a really, really big deal. As we're going to see both players look at their opening 7 cards, decide if they're going to keep them, as Kobie looks happy with his pink sleeves and his Boros Reckoner. Quite a few lands over there. Again, John, going to take a look here. You see a Detention Sphere in his hand, among others.
Look like a 1-lander.
And it does look like a 1-lander.
Basic island.
You see an island in his hand. You see a couple copies of Searing Spear. He has an Aurelia in his hand as well. I'd be a little bit surprised if he kept this one. You see a Searing Spear and a Pillar of Flame, so he's kind of thinking, if I draw that Sacred Foundry,
it's
takes
always
a little look.
It's always so tempting, but, you know, that's got to go back. Kobie was actually tanking pretty hard on his draw because, I mean, it's lands and spells, right? So it's, like, hard to mulligan, but the spells aren't that great, and his curve's not that strong, and he doesn't have any of the key cards in the matchup like Thalia. So definitely thought long and hard about it, but decided to keep. And yeah, we'll see how it pans out.
I mean, Kobie's list is interesting because, you know, he's made an upgrade that I've really liked in his deck. He's playing 4 copies of Hamlet Captain.
Yeah.
A card that we'll bring up on the screen for you guys once the game begins.
Is the Innistrad uncommon.
Yeah, gives the beatdowns as Glenn is making Hamlet Captain motions off the screen, which no one knows what those are, but I think that's what he's doing. But you don't find any copies of Frontline Medic in his deck, which is, like, one of the cards that I've found to be, like, incredibly good, obviously in combination with just having 3 creatures in play, but, you know, comboing up with Lightning Mauler is incredible.
Yes.
And I'm really surprised
it's almost
not to see that.
Instant battalion, you know, and since there are so many of these Naya Blitz style decks, or, you know, the Tamahara Saito creature aggro decks that can block, yeah, the indestructibility on attack is actually quite relevant.
It's been super relevant.
Even the control decks all have, you know, Angel to block or whatever. If you're swarming your opponent and can get damage in while not sacrificing creatures, then that's huge. Job going to 5 here. You know, on the draw, he's got some Think Twices. It's definitely not as bad as say the Naya Blitz deck going to 5.
Yeah, it's certainly not impossible to come back from this.
Yes.
Both of his hands have just had 1 land. His last hand just had 1 Glacial Fortress. So, you know, there is some, you know, taking a look at those hands, he's considering, you know, I think I might be able to get there. If I draw a land or 2 off the top in the first couple draw steps, I'll be okay. But I think mulliganing is probably the proper decision.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Job's a disciplined player. He's not going to, you know, rely on the top of his deck. He's going to do his best to win the game straight up.
We'll see both players, or excuse me, one player going to 5. Kobie looks happy with his 7. His 7 does have...
Well, happy.
Happy enough.
He's keeping.
Yeah.
We'll say he's keeping.
He has a Boros Elite and Avacyn's Pilgrim in his hand, a couple of lands, and then a few mystery cards as well, but...
It's his only other spell is Silverblade Paladin, I believe.
Okay.
So, the Elite Pilgrim Paladin, or the Pilgrim Paladin Elite curve.
It really just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the standard 1, 2, 3
Yeah, comes
of the
off.
Nile Blitz deck.
Comes off really easy.
Yeah.
Avacyn's Pilgrim is a card that you did not find in Nico's list when he won the Grand Prix up there in Quebec, and I'm a little bit surprised to find that in here as well. I just don't think that this is a deck that really takes full advantage of it.
Yeah, not only is he playing the Pilgrim, but he's playing less higher drops. It's like, he's only accelerating into multiple creatures. It is really a swarm deck among swarm decks, or swarm list among swarm lists.
And so you're going to see Pillar Flame take care of that. And Kobie's hand is actually a lot better than we thought. There's a Hamlet Captain and another Avacyn's Pilgrim there, and his only other land is a Sacred Foundry, as he's going to draw a flip card, which is Mayor of Averbrook. You see Sacred Foundry coming to play untapped. You're going to see an Avacyn's Pilgrim, and now you're going to see a Boros Elite. So there's your Hamlet Captain on the screen. Innistrad Uncommon, pretty good in the green-white deck back in the day.
Yeah.
And actually quite powerful here. One thing that I didn't know that I ran into while streaming is that it gives all other humans +1/+1 when it blocks.
When it
too.
blocks, yeah.
I did not know that, and I don't think I actually ever had that come up in limited either, which is really strange. Because I mean, I like to attack. Doesn't surprise you. I draft a green-white travel prep a lot, but I had no idea it gave +1/+1 when it blocked either.
So, Augur looked like it missed there, which is kind of the standard, really. That's just the usual. Said last round, Augur just looked at the bottom 3 cards of your deck, and that was a pretty explosive turn.
Yeah, you see Hamlet Captain coming to play, Jonathan taking a look at it. That's why we brought it up on screen for you guys. Mayor of Averbrook as well. So next turn for Kobie is certainly going to be a very, very nice one. Jonathan going to want to cast a spell here too to avoid Mayor from flipping, but it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't here because Mayor's good on both sides right now.
Yeah.
Well, you are going to see Mayor flip into Howpack Alpha, a card that we'll bring up on the screen for you. Flipadelphia has been announced. And now Kobie's going to consider his attacks here, but they are all pretty gosh darn good. He just has to consider, when there's mana up there, Azorius Charm, Searing Spear, what have you, those sort of things.
And it is, in fact, Azorius Charm, along with a couple of Restoration Angels waiting in the wings for Joe.
Tough spot here for John because, he probably wants to cycle that Azorius Charm to try to hit the 4th land, but at the same time, kind of needs to cast his Azorius Charm so he can actually have those restorations
so he can not die.
Yeah. But you're going to see Azorius Charm here on the Howpack Alpha. Going to put that back on top. He's going to end up taking what looks to be 6 points of damage. 4 from the Boros Elite, excuse me, because the Battalion plus the Mare Pump. Actually, it's going to be less than that. I take it back. Just 5? 4?
What?
3?
You had
2,
it right.
1?
You had it right.
0?
No.
I can't.
No. It's
3 from the Elite, 1 from the Pilgrim. Plus 2 from the Hamlet Captain trigger, so 6.
Yeah, you
I had it right. Yes!
That's what I was saying the whole time. You gotta believe in yourself, Cedric. It's all about confidence.
I lack confidence, AJ. I lack confidence in life.
You.
After all those flights, my confidence is waning.
Well, he did draw the land for the Restoration Angel, and that's gonna give him another Augur Bolus trigger.
There's your Mare.
At only 12 life, it's gonna be a little tough, but I mean, the pieces are there.
Especially with how big these Boros Elites are. These Boros Elites are 5/5s. As good as Restoration Angel normally is right now, it's
just casual 1 mana 5/5s.
Yeah, it's not great in this situation. And now Jovic obviously considering what he wants to do here because do I want to play it? Do I want to play it pre-combat and try to block? Do I want to block with the Augur Bolas and then flash the Restoration Angel just to blink it? How do I want to go about doing this? Because that Augur Bolas is probably gonna have to bite the dust here.
Yeah.
I think he just needs to find one of those 3 Supreme Verdicts. I think that's the only way he gets back in this one.
I agree. I think that you just do it and hope. And that looks like what he's doing. Blink the Augur. 1, 2, 3. There's a verdict.
Found one.
So now you just double chump.
Yeah. Just
save the most life because all you're doing is casting a Wrath.
Try to keep that life total as high as you can. You see him jump in front of both the 5/5s.
Funny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Taking six
Looks like
more.
six. Looks like 6.
That is half his remaining life total, but it looks like they're figuring it out too.
Yeah,
a lot of different abilities going on here.
Hamlet Captain makes things a little bit difficult, okay? You don't see him often. You do see Supreme Verdict often. That's going to clear everything up here. So Jonathan is doing okay. You see Kobie lose all of those things.
This is a fairly stabilized board, you know.
He's going to draw
Angel
here.
versus the Paladin and top of Kobie's deck.
I think Kobie has one card left in his hand, too. Not sure what it is. As you see John draw a Hallowed Fountain. Going to put that into play tapped and pass with just Restoration Angel in his hand. Kobie
It's a
draws.
Boros Charm.
Boros Charm's a good Magic card.
Yeah. Kind of hard to cast, but, you know, with Job at such a low life total, the reach is definitely, like, we're within the point of the game where if Job can sacrifice any resources to preserve his life total at all, he's going to, and that's exactly what we see. He trades the Angel for the Paladin. Is that another Verdict?
Not sure what he drew there.
Looked like a gold card. If it's Sphinx's Revelation, then we're in business, but it's going to take one away from Boros Charm range, and there's the mana to cast it.
It was a Supreme Verdict. And he draws a Desolate Lighthouse, and is he going to pull the trigger? He's not.
All right.
And he comes.
Kobie with the fairly confident attack.
Kobie's going to knock him down to 4.
He's within Boros Charm range. The question is, how do you time it? Probably wait, hope that... Oh, yep.
In the upkeep.
Upkeep it.
You're going to see a Desolate Lighthouse activation.
I'm pretty sure this is just feudal. Let's see, does he have Dispels? Is he bringing in Dispels here, do you think, just for Boros Charm and Spears?
I can't imagine he would, but he drew a Sulphur Falls and is going to concede the game, so Kobie Spaeth is going to win game 2. We're going to be moving on to a game 3 here momentarily, but I can't imagine he's bringing in that kind of counter magic.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't see a reason to game 1. You can figure that, you know, this 9 Blitz deck did have 4 Searing Spears in it. Some versions do play Giant Growth, so there are definitely some cards to counter with a Dispel type of thing.
You know, we actually are seeing that he doesn't have Searing Spear, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But, you know, normally these decks have Searing Spear, and then they have access to either Boros Charm or Skullcrack or both post-board. So, like, it's theoretically possible to have Dispel, but it's likely that that loot was just to, you know, for game 3 say, hey, like, I could have an answer here.
Sure.
And then pack it in. So Joe put up a pretty good fight for starting on 5 there. Like I said, you know, if he peels a Sphinx's Revelation, then he can close the door real fast on that stabilized board. But didn't.
Yeah, 3 copies of it in his deck, didn't find one, and you know, if you're Kobie, you're kind of hoping to fade one there.
Yeah.
You know, you're feeling pretty good. His draw was fantastic that game. Jonathan was able to find a Supreme Verdict, clear things up.
Yeah, kind of lucky to like tag the Verdict.
Yeah.
And then still needed to draw like a Revelation or something to get.
Yeah, I mean that's what a Mold of 5's all about, and
Yep.
I mean he almost got there. Kobie's draw was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, he was. It's funny that I'm saying Kobie was able to hang on.
Yeah.
Which is, like, really weird to say. But,
well, I mean,
he barely made it out alive.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't look at the fact that Job had, like, basically no hand, I mean, wrathing with Kobie having 1 card in hand is, like, pretty good. I mean, you know, 6 life is low, but it's not 1 burn spell low.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how that game ends up playing out if Job just does decide to trade 1-for-1 with a Supreme Verdict. Just one. I mean, it's
then
it's
they're
strange.
both playing from the top.
Yeah, it's strange to kill a 1-1 with the Supreme Verdict, but you know he can just prolong the game and just play at the top. He would have drawn into a Desolate Lighthouse, be able to filter his draws a little bit, and then maybe he does find that Sphinx Revelation to close the door.
Yeah.
We don't know what Kobie's going to draw, but we do know that he has a Boros Charm, and he did draw the Clifftop Retreat to cast it. But it would have been interesting to see exactly how that game would have played out if Job does decide to make the 1-for-1 with Supreme Verdict.
The extremely conservative play, but, you know, might have paid off.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you play blue at red decks a fair amount.
I can't imagine Irath in that spot.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to imagine a spot where you have the soul read of, yeah, I'm just going to 1-for-1 the Supreme Verdict. I don't think it really exists.
Boros Charm from the, like, Cavern Forest Sacred Foundry board or whatever. Like, yeah, there's no way that I'm wrathing for an elite. It's not even like one of the good ones.
No,
it's, like
no, it's the worst one. It's literally the worst one in the deck. I'm going to Wrath your Mons Goblin's Raider.
Yeah.
Oh, are you?
Interesting.
All right. Well, you win. So we're going to see both players shuffling up here for Game 3. I think, this is a big spot for John here, being on the play finally.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Being on the play is absolutely massive. Getting to Wrath right on time and being able to, like, get your removal spells out at a reasonable clip, because your removal spells are reactive, right? So you have to do it after they play their creature, and so if you're not a turn ahead, then you're a turn behind.
You see Jonathan's hand right now. He had some trouble finding lands in Game 2. He has not found any trouble in this game. He's got a pretty land-heavy hand right now. I believe there's 5 of them, along with an Essence Scatter and a Pillar of Flame. And you see Kobie taking a mulligan here, and Jonathan, I believe, is taking a mental fist bump right now.
Yeah. The Nihil Blitz deck is extremely explosive, extremely powerful, but it does not mulligan well. Its cards all need to work together with the single goal in mind to get the opponent dead as soon as possible. It's a swarm deck, as in you need a lot of actual physical magic cards in play. You need the permanence, and mulliganing, it hurts Naya more than it hurts most decks.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely saw in that last game where Jonathan played. He has cards in his deck like Think Twice, like Augur of Bolas, to be able to smooth his draws, undo some mulligans and actually play Magic. And he almost stole that game from Kobie, who had an insane draw.
Yeah,
so
we'll
see
draw with 5 against 5 cards.
Now you see Kobie's hand there. He kind of spread it out for you guys. There were 4 lands, an Experiment 1, and a Boros Charm, so he sends that one back. No,
yeah.
That's certainly not going to do it, even though he is on the draw. So now it's his turn to go to mulligan to 5 land.
Well, Job's hand is the type of hand that can easily lose to a mull to 5. It's very easy for his 5-lander to flood out here. For Kobie to have a Cavern to blank the Essence Scatter, and have 2 Mayors or something to overwhelm the Pillar. Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about Job having Essence Scatter, 1, in his deck list to begin with, but 2, leaving it in this matchup where there are 4 Cavern of Souls?
Well, 1, Scatter, I think it's awesome. I think it's very, very good in this style deck. It's unfortunate that he is not playing the Thought Scour version, because I think it's better in that version, because you can dig towards it for Snapcaster. And answer your second question, having it in this matchup, I do not like it. I board out all my counter magic in these style decks, but
you see Kobie is happy with his 5 cards. You're going to see a Hamlet Captain here. Pillar of Flame took care of an Experiment 1. Kobie did draw another one, though. He does have a Boros Lane in his hand. You do see Cavern of Souls here, something that, we obviously are highlighting here, because that Essence Scatter is looking a lot worse, and Jonathan has drawn a couple more lands. So you see him play a Clifftop Retreat.
And a Detention Sphere, which is, Hamlet Captain. It's powerful, when you have creatures en masse, but it's not the most threatening single card presence.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend any human warriors out there, but it's like I was saying, all the cards need to work together. And on a Multi 5, Hamlet Captain doesn't have buddies to, he doesn't have people to command. You got me?
I do see. He wanted to work with Experiment 1, but that didn't work out. So he's just gonna come solo.
Yeah.
Introduce.
Well, Job is so happy to get anything with this scatter there. Yeah. The turn 1 Cavern naming human is just like, eye roll city for the Essence Scatter player. But Kobie, to be able to play 2 things in a turn, has to use a non-Cavern land, and the Essence Scatter does get to see some action.
Now, Detention Sphere is going to take care of said Hamlet Captain, leaving him with just a Mons Goblin Raiders in the form of Boros Elite. Not looking so elite right now. As you see Job's hand, he has an Azorius Charm, he has an Aurelia the War Leader in his hand as well. And you see a Clifftop Retreat. Kobie going to play another Hamlet Captain. Job should have known to save that Detention Sphere.
The value.
But Snapcaster Mage, Jonathan Drawstep might be here to save the day. In a day that he may not have needed saving.
Yeah. This is stabilization. There's no other word for it. It's like the captain needs other humans to pump, the elite needs other attackers to battalion, and as long as you keep him below, say, 3 attackers, then the cards are really underwhelming.
And, you know, the interesting thing that I actually like about Jonathan's version of this deck. Now, I'm not sure how good Aurelia the War Leader actually is in this style of deck. You know, tapping out for 6 mana, you're not really playing the flash type deck, so maybe you want Boros Reckoners because you're planning on tapping out a little more often. But one thing that's really nice about having Aurelia in your deck is that he can actually close the game out very fast now.
Yes.
And, you know, make it so that Kobie isn't able to draw, you know, running Boros Charms or Mare of Averbrook or any of the other things that can actually get him back in the game, because Aurelia, as you're going to see him play that Sacred Foundry untapped, is going to get this game over with very fast.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring Aurelia up on the screen for you guys, too, as you see Snapcaster Mage happily coming across.
Yeah.
Saying, go ahead, Boros Elite, jump on in. And we see double time attacks here, and Kobie knows that, you know, if I'm blocking, I'm losing.
Yes.
So I can't afford to block, but if I'm taking it, I'm also losing.
Yes, I was going to say, it's lose-lose here. Mare's a pretty good card. I was talking earlier with Glenn about how important it is for the control decks in this metagame to be able to close out games, because all of the aggressive decks have so much reach. And Aurelia, as you said, is one of the fastest and most, like, I don't know, it's like Sarah Angel from, you know, Alpha decks, where it plays offense and defense and kills the opponent real fast.
And you see the Soul Bond, the Lightning Mauler plus the Mare. Jonathan's going to block, and Kobie's going to extend the hand. One thing that Aurelia does do, in addition to attacking a million times, you know, it also gets to block. Sure. He'll design anything. Yeah.